Where do your roots lie? Everyone kinda has an idea of where they came from, but mine is a little bit of a mystery because my father, William, was born in Japan an orphan of mixed blood during the occupation era in 1953. He was adopted by my grandparents, Austin and Connie, in 1958. I know where my mother is from. She's from the Philippines, and we know all our family there. But my father, all we know is that he was born in Japan. So I thought to myself, where do I even start? Where do I begin to look for my father's family? The best thing I can think of was to take a DNA test. According to my grandfather's memoirs, the biological father was a white service member, and his biological mother was Japanese. Since the Y chromosome is passed down virtually unchanged from father to son for tens of thousands of years, there was a possibility that if I find someone who matches my Y chromosome enough to be a relation within the past 200 years, maybe I could find my father's European surname, since last names are generally passed down from male to male. I searched the internet to find the best DNA testing service, and I kept running into Family Tree DNA. People use them to prove genealogies or to find distant cousins. With a database of over 600,000 people, I figured maybe there's a small chance that I can find a genetic match. If I find a male cousin, maybe I can find a last name to search for. So I ordered the kit. Family Tree DNA sends you a packet of test materials, complete with 2 cheek swabs, 2 vials, and directions. After swabbing each cheek for over a minute each, place the swabs in their individual vials, sign a disclosure slip, replace it, and mail it off. Up until recently, my father only knew of one document that existed that gave any information of his childhood, his certificate of naturalization, dated February 29, 1960. On the back of the certificate states his original name, Hiroshi Umemori. After my grandmother passed away and my grandfather became extremely ill, my father gained possession of my grandfather's memoirs and to many documents that were tucked away. I have learned that before the Immigration Act of 1965, it took special acts of Congress in order for Japanese born adopted children to become exempt from the immigration quota. Many documents had to be submitted with a petition to the American consulate in Japan. So I asked my father to search through all of my grandfather's stuff, because there's no way that only one document existed. There had to be more documents. That's when my father found a document hidden beneath stacks of memoirs and pictures. His adoption papers from Japan. Something he has never seen before. Something written in kanji that we couldn't read. Alright, I'm gonna get my dad's adoption papers translated at my own job. I used to work at a Japanese restaurant in Long Beach, and I'm still pretty close with the owners, so hopefully they can tell me what's written in the adoption papers. So maybe they can tell me something about my father that he can't tell me. Since the copy was blurry and the kanji was handwritten during the 50s, it was difficult to translate. What they could tell me is that the adoption was approved by the Yokohama family court. There were 3 names listed: Austin Haynes, my grandfather, Konishi Hatsuko, my grandmother, and Umemori Hiroshi, my father. It also listed current addresses and confirmed that my father's name was in fact Hiroshi Umemori. There was something else that they couldn't tell me. How did they get the information about my father in the approval of adoption? They couldn't have just made it up. It had to come from somewhere. So I continued my research. I researched for hours and hours. Japanese adoption laws, American adoption laws, immigration laws, adoption websites in Japanese, adoption websites in English, read rare books about Japanese orphanages, pulled over tons of literature, and even used Google Translate. But it was not until I compared current Japanese adoption papers to my father's adoption papers, then I made a breakthrough. As it turns out, these characters did not mean current address. These characters did. The current address was in Yokohama, where my grandfather was stationed. And these characters meant domicile, similar to what Americans use as place of origin. My grandfather was born in Romance, West Virginia. My grandmother was born in Hiroshima Prefecture, Kure City. This would only mean that my father was born in Miyagi Prefecture, Sendai City. What is the importance of domicile? Well, unlike here in the US where we have birth certificates, in Japan they have something called koseki, or family registry. Japanese law requires all households to report everything from births, deaths, marriages, to adoptions. A family registry is filed in the town hall according to the address of the domicile. In theory, if I find the town hall, I can find my father's registry. If I find my father's registry, I can find out who my father's biological family is. But I encountered another problem. We know this is my father's domicile. This is Miyagi Prefecture, Sendai City. But these three characters are too blurry to read. I was told it could be either Toricho or Torimachi. We don't know for sure, but I did take to Google and found this township in Sendai, Toricho. All that is left to do is to go there and see. But then I thought, what were the circumstances that this lady could have experienced in order to leave her child in an orphanage? And that's a whole nother can of beans. My Y-DNA test results just came back in 6 weeks later. So let's see if this can tell me anything about my missing heritage. Essentially, this is the closest we've ever been to my biological grandfather. So let's see if we can find any matches or see if this can tell me anything about my father's heritage. Okay, this is their website, Family Tree DNA. So let's log in and let's see what we can find. Oh, wow. That is a lot of stuff. This is going to take some time. And it did take time. Lots of time. But against all odds, I found matches. Lots of matches. Those that shared my Y-DNA markers tell me that my roots are particularly from Western Europe, England to be precise. The majority of my matches had the surname of Parker. One individual, who will remain anonymous, more than likely shared a common male ancestor with me in the last 150 years, and his genealogy is well documented. It's not 100% yet, but we'll find out more. For me, it's a step in the right direction in discovering my father's roots. I know who I am. My grandparents were Austin and Connie, and I love them. They endured so much in order to adopt my father, and without them, I wouldn't be here today. At the end of this, I'm not going to be a Parker or an Umemori. I'm going to be a Haynes. While I understand the desire to know your roots, it is far more important to focus on building your own life.
Give her, which one you want?